Hey everyone, I just wanted to take a few minutes today to share one of my favorite scriptures with you from Colossians chapter 2 that deals with what we are celebrating and remembering on this Easter week. Here's what we read in verse 13. And when you were dead in trespasses and in the uncircumcision of your flesh, God made you alive with Jesus and forgave us all our trespasses. You see, before faith in Jesus, before what Jesus did for us on the cross, we were dead in our sins. We were dead. We were spiritually dead in relation to God. There was no life in us. We were completely dead. Jesus paid a price for us so that we could live, and in Him we are made alive. And this is what it says in verse 14. God erased the certificate of debt with its obligations that was against us and opposed to us. The certificate of debt was written with each one of our names on it. It's there. It's written against us, and God erased it. He erased it. That's absolutely amazing. Have you ever had a debt in your life that was hanging over your head? It seems like you can never get ahead. You can never pay it off. And maybe you even got to a point where you had collectors calling you to get you to pay it off, to make one more payment, or you missed some payments, and they're trying to collect on that debt. Well, the certificate of debt that Paul's talking about here in Colossians 2 is a debt of a whole other level. It is our sin debt. Sin debt. And it says here that God erased it. It was against us. It was opposing us. We were spiritually dead because of it, and God erased it. Look at what he says. And he's taken it away. He erased it and took it away. How? By nailing it to the cross. Oh, wow. That's amazing. You see, Jesus came to this earth and lived a life for us, a life that we couldn't live, in perfect, obedient submission to the Father. And then he went to the cross, blameless and perfect, to be that sacrifice that we so desperately needed to pay off our debt. He took our sin upon himself and went to the cross and died the death that we deserved. And so Jesus paid off our debt. I love what Max Lucado says about this. It's as if you look close enough between Jesus' hand and the cross, you could see a piece of paper. And that piece of paper nailed to the cross is your sin debt and my sin debt. It is that certificate of debt that was written against us, and it's been nailed to the cross. And look at what it says next in verse 15. God disarmed the rulers and authorities and disgraced them publicly. Talking about the enemy that had power and authority over us because of our sin. Well, God disarmed them. But how did he do it? He triumphed over them in Jesus. He triumphed over them. He gained victory over them in Jesus. What does that mean? Well, on the third day, 3 days after our certificate of debt was nailed to the cross, 3 days later, Jesus walked out of the tomb. Jesus died for us on Good Friday, and he rose again on Easter Sunday. That's what we're celebrating this week. That's why Friday can be called Good Friday, because our certificate of debt was erased and taken away by it being nailed to the cross. It's not against us anymore. It's not opposing us anymore. If we've placed our faith in Jesus, we now have new life in him. And that's something to celebrate. That's good news worth sharing.